I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Virgin Valley Artists Association welcomes you to The Art Box, recorded in beautiful Virgin Valley, Nevada, and sponsored by the Virgin Valley Artists Association. Our association has something for everyone. Come and get creative with us at 15 West Mesquite Boulevard, Mesquite, Nevada, and find us online at mesquitefineartscenter.com. Hosting today's episode is Rochelle Knight and Steve Dudrow. Let's go have some fun.
Welcome to episode 6 of the Art Box podcast. Steve, what have you been working on this past week?
This is episode 6 already?
It is.
Holy moly.
We're marching along.
Wow. I have had quite the month in that I have been the artist in residence at Capitol Reef National Park in Torrey, Utah. We're staying in this beautiful house. It's called the Brim Hall House. And they almost tore it down a few years ago, but then they decided they would start using it for the artist in residence program. It has 3 bedrooms. I have an office upstairs where I can edit all my pictures, which I've taken about, we're getting towards the end of the month, I've taken about 25,000 individual pictures this month.
What's the memory space for that?
When I came back down to Mesquite for a little break, I had to buy another 8 terabyte drive.
Wow.
Because I filled one. Now, I didn't fill it with 8 terabytes, but I had already had some on there. So it's a lot. And I've slept in the bed in the Brim Hall house is wonderful, except I'm mainly staying in Betsy. You know who Betsy is. Betsy is our forerunner. I'm mainly sleeping in the back of Betsy out all night taking pictures, but it's been a wonderful time. The folks there, the rangers, the guests, the visitors, the other volunteers are all really nice. I've had a really wonderful time. And Trotta Institute, which is the nonprofit that sponsors the Artists in Residence program, they've had music almost every weekend. They had blues, and we've just had a really good time there. So, yeah, it's been a fun time. And I finish up on, we're going to publish this on the 1st, and I finish up on the 3rd with a presentation at the Robbers Roost, which is this really cool building that Entrada owns in Torrey. And that'll be the end.
Awesome. So tell everyone, in case they don't know, what is involved with being an artist in residence.
The artist in residence has to give back the park something. Okay, so if you were doing it, so to speak, you would present them with an acrylic painting at the end, and they would hang it somewhere, probably in the visitor center.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there are musicians, and they provide music. For me, and the reason I got this was there's way better night sky photographers than me, okay? But I take time-lapse. Sue, who is the superintendent of the park, she chose me. I think it was a 3-way tie for the night sky photographer, artist in residence for 2022. She chose me because she wanted a time-lapse, okay? And if you don't know what a time-lapse is you take, well, for me, I take about 1,000 20-second exposures of the night sky over the course of an evening, and then I put them in a video. So if you look at a night sky picture, and you'll see the Milky Way rising and going out of the frame. So that's a night sky.
Which I've seen a few of them, and they are amazing. I've gotten a sneak peek of a few of them. So,
yeah.
So now you'll present that as part, that's what you'll give back, is presentations of your videos, is that right?
Yes, I'll give them that MP4 of the video, and maybe they'll play it in the visitor center. I'm not sure. The other thing I had to give was you have to do one presentation, one campground presentation, and I've done 2. Okay, and they're a blast, and I've worked on it pretty hard, but I work to make the audience be part of it, and there's a lot of kids come to these things, so like one child, I ask for volunteers from the audience. One, I give the sun, so I have this huge ball, and that's the sun. Okay, so they hold it. Hopefully, they don't throw it away. And then I give out an Earth, and I give out a Moki marble as Mars. Okay, and then I give a little ball that's the moon, and then I give a couple photons out. Anyway, so the kids go back in the audience and they sit with these balls, and hopefully they don't throw them away. And then I bring them up on stage to do demonstrations of the sun and the moon and eclipse and the Earth spinning and things like that. So I try to make it fun, and it's really good. It's good for me.
Right.
So I hope they enjoyed it as well. So that's what the artist in residence has to give. Rochelle, it's your turn. What have you been doing this week?
Well, nothing quite as fun as what you've been doing. I finished my paintings for August, which the theme is abandoned places. And every time I finish a painting, usually it's kind of stressful at the end, trying to get done, trying to get it varnished and the backing on, and I'm always squealing in 5 minutes before they're due. But at that point, my studio is a mess, and my brushes are gross. I have paint everywhere. And so it feels really good when I finish a painting to come in the next day and scrub and clean. And so that's what I did. I rearranged the desks that I have in my studio. I rearranged a lot of the canvas. I like clutter, and I actually feel really comfortable in clutter. It's kind of a safe thing, and my studio is definitely very cluttered. And I have a million bottles of paint that I always leave out, and so they're just in a big pile by the time I finish. So anyway, that's what I've been doing, is cleaning.
And that's fine. Now, I look at your phone over there, and I see there's a painting on your phone.
There
well,
is.
Not really. There's just a lot of paint on your
There
phone.
is. I don't know how I do it. I come home. I was even just cleaned, and I came home covered in paint. My steering wheel is covered in paint. My face will be covered. I have it in my eyebrows. Yeah, I'm a mess.
No, you're a painter. You're an artist.
That's true. I look like one, literally.
And we have an exciting episode this week. We have Chris Picior. Now, Chris, I've only met Chris, I think, in December when she hired myself and Rochelle as co-webmasters. I don't. Can you hire a
volunteer?
I'm not sure you can hire a volunteer, but she brought us on as co-webmasters, which has worked out very well. Chris was president for 2 years, and she actually saw the Virgin Valley Artists Association through some very tough times through the pandemic. And she did a great job, and obviously the association has landed on its feet. We welcome Chris Picior.
I've known Chris for a couple years, and we've become really good friends. And she has had an amazing life. She's a very talented artist, very sweet, very caring about others. I thought it would be nice if she started out just telling us about her life and how she came to be a Mesquite, and maybe when she started being an artist.
Wow. I grew up in New York City, and I started drawing when I was very, very young. I loved botany, and I loved drawing, so I would go around and get these little polynoses. Do you know what polynoses are? They fall off the trees, the oak trees and the maple trees in New York, and I would plant them, their seeds, and I would watch them grow, and I would sketch them as they would grow.
Oh, that's great.
And when I went to high school, I took a lot of art lessons. I ended up at 16 going to Washington Square in New York City and sketching people's faces, just for fun, and handing them the pieces of paper. And,
that's great.
If I got $1, that was fine. If I didn't, that was fine too. But it was, it was Hippieville, and I was having a whole lot of fun. I always wanted to work in art, but my first job was in Ace Publishing Company in the art department, and then I saw all the salespeople coming in with all these wonderful clothes. Maybe I need to change my profession a little bit. Then I got married, and my husband was sent to Vietnam. And before he was in Vietnam, on his way to Vietnam, I should say, I found out I was pregnant. So that killed all my career for a while. And when my kids were, let me see, I ended up having 3 kids, and we were living in upstate New York, Boonville, which was the only place I thought the kids should be brought up. It had a little gazebo, it had American flags on the gazebo. We went in the fall, and it was beautiful, and then it snowed, and it snowed for 6 months straight. So at one point, I was in a car accident. Oh, let me go back a little bit. I was always into yoga, doing the physical type of yoga, the movement of yoga. And one time there was this woman who I went to, a yoga teacher, and I was pregnant with my 3rd child. I had 2 really, really rough pregnancies. I was pregnant with my 3rd child. And this woman said in her yoga class, "How would you like to stop worrying?" And I said, "If you can make me stop worrying, I'll listen to anything you have to say." So she gave me this book written by Swami Muktananda, and I took it home with me, and I read the whole thing, and I said, "I want to meet this man. I want to know everything this man has to share." I ended up going to upstate New York, where he was coming in. It was a big deal. He was going to upstate New York. And right before that, one of his people came. And this person was not a Swami, was just one of his devotees, and he gave a program. And this was really interesting because I left the kids home with my husband. It was a 2-day program, and I had to drive about 40 minutes to get there. I go there, and we did the program, and he came around, and he did what you call Shaktipat. He gave me Shaktipat, which is spiritual awakening. I came home. My husband said, "What happened to you?" I said, "I don't know." He goes, "Well, I want it too." So he came back with me the next day, and we both were really, really interested in this happening, what was ever happening to us. And finally, the big guy was coming from India, and we awaited him in upstate New York in the Catskill Mountains. He came in by helicopter, and we all went around, and we got to, say hello. And he asked me where I came from, and I said Christine, and he asked me my name, and I said New York.
Sounds like something I would do.
Yeah. And my creativity was just exploded through this whole thing. The first real session I had with him, it was called an intensive. It was a 2-day intensive. He came around, and what he would do is touch you in order to awaken the kundalini that lies dormant in the base of the spine. He came and he touched me with the peacock feathers on the head, and he touched me in the 3rd eye, and light just exploded in my head and just went down throughout my whole body. And then I fell into meditation for about 2 hours. I woke up, and my back was so sore I could hardly even move. And there were probably 300 people in the room. And he came to me and put his thumb in the back of my head, and all this heat flew down and took my backache away. It was an amazing experience. I walked around like that, like the top of my head was cut off, for about 2 months. Then we went back up to see him, and we go down the Darshan line to see him, and he looks at me and he hits me with the peacock feathers, and he goes, "The honeymoon's over," which means, okay, you've had the experience, but now you have to work for it. So that was really amazing, because I thought I was just going to sit at his feet and live at the ashram for the rest of my life, which didn't happen. So there were a lot of creative people at the ashram. I don't know if you know Julia Cameron. She wrote a book about art and how to keep the creativity going in art. She was one of the people who was there at the time. And then, of course, there was Eat, Pray, Love.
Right.
Yeah, she was there too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it was very interesting. But
So how do you think that affected your art later on? And does it still?
I think it does, because I really do have to meditate on what I want to put down on the paper.
Interesting. Yeah, we talked about that in a previous podcast. And maybe most artists do that. I spend a lot of time eyes closed, even
Yeah.
just in front of my easel, just thinking and rearranging in my head. And
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes I just have to go lie down. It gets so overwhelming that I can't figure what I'm going to put down on the paper. And with a gourd, I will place it in front of me and get a glass of wine and look at it and say, tell me what you want to be.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, and it comes. It comes.
Does it change its mind after 2 glasses of wine? What it wants to be?
Occasionally, you know. It does sometimes have a mind of its own.
So I know that you spent some time in India
Mm-hmm.
after this period that you're talking about. So tell us about that.
Oh, India was amazing. India was absolutely amazing. I brought my 3 kids. They were 11, 9, and 4 at the time. And I have a couple of stories I can tell you that are really funny. One is we all would have darshan with the guru in the courtyard. And it was built like a hotel. The courtyard was in the middle, and then there were 3 stories that went up. And, you know, the kids were little, so they ran around the top of the courtyard. The meditators got really upset. They went to Baba. They said, you got to make them stop. You got to have the mothers take care of the kids. So Baba said, okay, you all have to take care of your kids. And we all got mad at him. But anyway, we took care of the kids. We, you know, put them inside during the time we were outside. And then he said, I want only the best meditators to raise their hand. This was about a week afterwards. And you could see them trying to be so humble. And they would think, well, I'm really a good meditator, so I'm going to raise my hand. So, you know, you can see one raising his hand, and then another. And now he's hand-picking them. He's going, you. And he goes, okay, if you're good meditators, you can go out to this house in the country and be on the top floor. And there'll be no noise out there. You'll be all by yourself. You can be on the top floor, and you can just meditate all day long. So the mothers were still really upset. And a week later, he puts the kids' school underneath them. And then he says, if you're really a good meditator, this isn't going to bother you.
You can handle this.
He had the greatest sense of humor.
That's pretty good.
It was like living in a different world.
And
It was
how long were you there?
a total of about 2 years.
Wow.
Not all at the same time, but
Now, do your kids still remember it?
oh yeah,
Do they?
they do. I
Yep.
have one who is, you know, pretty much adheres to the Hindu faith.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, not totally, but I mean that would be her fallback.
But from what she learned in
Yeah.
India.
And the other 2 still talk about it. They know about it.
Wow, that's great because
Yeah.
you know what a powerful thing, and it probably changed the direction of their lives.
I think it
to have
did.
something like
I
that
think
as
it
a
did.
child. That's really cool.
And
Yeah.
your husband was with you?
No.
Okay.
My husband was supposed to be with me and come in the end and all go home together, but that didn't happen.
Gotcha. So tell us about the different kinds of art that you do.
I try a little bit of everything. I started out, believe it or not, in watercolor, and I did some really nice watercolor. I apparently have forgotten how to do watercolor at this point because I can't do anything. I picked up gourds after a while. I tried clay,
Oh, neat.
but it was really hard for me because my shoulders were sore and I couldn't hold, you know, I couldn't throw a bowl.
Gotcha. So it was pottery and not
It was
sculpture.
pottery, yeah.
Pottery, okay.
I did the flat with
The hand building?
The hand building. I
Uh-huh.
did that. I have some pieces of that. But then I got into acrylics with a group of girlfriends. We would sit around and drink wine and, you know, have a picture, and everybody would do something, and it would be a nice afternoon. We do that once or twice a month.
Oh, awesome. So your own little paint nights.
Yeah, that was really fun. Then I got into doing gourds.
So tell us about that.
That was very expensive.
Was it? Well, and maybe explain what that even means, because I think maybe a lot of people haven't seen
your gourds before?
Well, the gourd is a vegetable. It's like a pumpkin, except it gets very hard on the outside. It gets a very hard shell, and the inside needs to be cleaned out if it's going to be open. If you're just going to do the outside of it, it does not have to be cleaned out.
Okay.
But there are spores in it, and you don't want to breathe them in. You have to use a really, really super mask.
So the spores are inside, or are they part of that?
They're inside.
Okay, interesting.
And I tried cleaning them myself, and, I've cut myself numerous times, so I try to get them already pre-cleaned, but that's not happening now because nobody wants to clean them.
Well,
Because
how do you clean them? Do you just make a little hole and scoop out?
Yeah, but some of them are big. So you cut a hole where you want it in the top, and then they have this ball that you put into a drill. And you have to get a good grip on it and drill all this stuff out.
While you're
And
not
this-
breathing.
Yeah, well, yeah, and it's all over you, all over outside. I mean, you can't do it inside.
Sure.
And here you have to be very careful about the weather.
oh, yeah,
because
it would probably affect.
In the summer, you have to go out really early and really disturb the neighbors because it makes a
think
lot
about
of
that.
noise. And in the winter, they have to go out later when it's a little warmer. Sometimes you can't go out at all.
So let me ask a dumb question. I know you're going to say, Steve, all your questions are dumb. But why not just leave what's inside?
You can if you don't open it. But if you open it, then people are going to be breathing those spores, and it's very unhealthy.
So if you don't open it, can it have like a rattle? Are the seeds still in there
Yeah,
rattling?
yeah.
kinda
That's
neat.
how the natives used to make their rattles out
Oh,
of gourds.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Chris was president for 2 years of the Virgin Valley Artists Association. And can you tell us a little bit about your time?
It was very interesting in the beginning. I started in January, and by the middle of February, we're talking about COVID.
Right.
And COVID happened, and we shut down.
And this was just right when you're getting your feet
right
wet.
when I'm getting my feet wet for 3 months. We shut down, well, until May. I think that was the first time we opened up. We hung February's art show, and then nobody saw it until May. And it was crazy, and a lot of people left because of that. A lot of people left because they didn't want to wear masks, and
Which wasn't the gallery's choice either. I mean, we were
No.
just following.
it was a city building. and
Right, so following all the different
like,
protocols.
well, that's what the mayor wants us to do.
Right.
So we did it, and then things started to gradually change because there were so many people unhappy there,
Right,
and it was good that they left.
right.
It was really good that they left. New people came flowing in. People who had been there before, people who got tired of it before, they came in and they started volunteering. And we have such a great group of people. Of course, we never have enough volunteers.
Right.
Never, ever, ever. But we have a whole lot more than we had before. And so many new ideas. I mean, thanks to Steve, we're doing this, and Rochelle. We're doing a podcast. I didn't even know, I hate to say this, I didn't even know what a podcast was.
I'm embarrassed. I didn't really either. I mean, I knew what it was, but I had never listened to any.
Yeah, I thought they were boring. I didn't want to listen to a podcast.
Yeah, I didn't
People
wanna
listen
actually
to
learn
them all the
something.
time,
Yes, they
yeah.
do.
They do, yeah. Well, I know even Dottie, who's the current president, she is a potter, and she listens exclusively to podcasts. I think in her car, and
Wow.
definitely when she's working. And yeah.
Wow.
So, how long were you a member of the gallery before you became president?
Not long.
I didn't think so.
Not
yeah, I thought you
long.
were pretty new.
It was probably around a year or so.
Okay.
Yeah, so what's your number?
106.
Ooh. Okay.
Oh,
Really?
Yeah.
That beats you.
I'm
214.
214.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm 583. 106.
You're a puppy.
I may have joined early on
Okay.
and then got out of it for a while
Sure.
because I was working for the non-smoking thing going on in Mesquite, which consumed all my time.
Right. Another activity that Chris is a part of is the MPAC, so the Mesquite Public Arts Council. And how long have you been part of that?
Since it started, and it also started like in January of
Oh, COVID.
20.
Okay.
so
Everything
Not
started
off to a
January
great
20.
start.
we had one meeting and then it was closed down until July.
Wow.
Yeah, then the weirdest thing happened. We got this grant, and we had been talking about covering the electric boxes. And we found this wonderful artist who donated her art. Her name is Rochelle King, and she did a marvelous job, and they are now all over Mesquite, and everybody just loves them.
Yeah, we've gotten a lot of really good
Yeah.
feedback. I have personally, it's been great, for me.
Good.
And I think for the city, I think that my personal take is Mesquite is probably known for a stopover between St. George or Salt Lake to Vegas. It's always just a stopover in between. And then a gambling town. And I think Impact, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is trying to not only beautify the city, but give us another part to our personality. And so we're going to be an art community as well as these other things.
That's
so
exactly
we're a
what we
real
want.
Community, kind of a mini Sedona.
We
And
want to establish an actual art community here
Right.
in Mesquite, and just keep it growing and growing, so people will look at us like another Sedona.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
I think that's great. What projects do you have coming up with Impact?
Well, we're looking to find some branding. I guess that's what we're looking to find right now. And we've lost a lot of people.
From the committee?
People have moved, yeah, and have gotten sick. So we have to have new people appointed, and that all hasn't happened yet. So we don't have a quorum. So we're waiting until probably November.
Oh, to meet again?
No, we're meeting next week, but in order to be able to get anything done, we need to have a quorum.
Okay.
And we need to start looking for more grants.
So then, if someone was interested in being part of that, how would they get in contact with you? Or is that how it would work? Or
They
would you,
are
do you-
appointed by city council.
Okay.
Each city council will appoint someone.
And so do they know the person? Do they come up with that idea? Or do the people seek that out?
Well, it's a little bit of both,
Okay.
but they do what they want to do.
Sure.
They're going to appoint who they want to appoint, and
Okay.
who they know, and who their friends are, and this and that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then tell us about the grants.
Well, the grants are pretty much the same. They're from, the National Arts Council,
Uh-huh.
and the grants from the state.
Mhm.
They're pretty much be the same as the art gallery gets.
Okay. And then,
But there is some specific to downtown improvement.
okay, I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
That do they all have to go towards, can they go through for different programs as far as classes or anything, or is it for the actual city?
That would be for the city.
Okay.
It would be for improving the look of the city.
Okay. Wonderful.
So, yeah, and aside from the art boxes that you did, we have purchased several statues.
Mm-hmm. And where can people see those?
If you walk along the walking path, do you know where that is?
Near the library, is that right?
By the library.
And so they're spaced along there.
Yeah, and
is
they're
that right?
beautiful sculptures. Just take a walk down that walking path, and you'll get to see all the new objects d'art.
Okay, don't touch them because they're probably really hot right now.
Probably really hot right now.
And then maybe you suggested maybe there might be some mural projects down the road. Is
That's
that,
what we're hoping to
Okay.
do, yeah.
which would, I think, elevate us even more as far as,
Right.
I know you talk about a walking downtown, and I think that would add to that.
Right, and I
Colors
think a
and-
group is trying to put a First Friday together.
Yes.
That will be great.
The Love Family, I believe,
Yeah.
is thinking of doing that, and I think hopefully they'll get it going in the fall. So
Mhm.
of course when it's not hot, and yeah, I
Right.
think that'll be really neat.
Right.
Chris, tell us about your favorite artist or artist.
Oh, two come to mind. My favorite for years and years has always been Van Gogh.
Okay.
I can see such emotion in what he paints, and you can see his heart being poured into the canvas.
Right. And his pain.
And his pain,
Yes.
yeah. And the other one that I really like is Gustav Klimt. When I saw The Kiss, and I saw The Kiss in Austria, it really, literally took my breath away. It was so, it was two people embracing, and just, you could feel the energy between them.
Right.
It was really beautiful. And I looked into his history. Interestingly enough, Van Gogh always sort of painted that way. He had a certain style. But Klimt was very precise. I mean, it was like a picture-perfect picture when he first started, and then he moved out of that, and he's got into the gold and the I guess modern. I don't know if you'd call it modern or postmodern, but it was beautiful work.
I think it's interesting to follow different artists, and I think we both have said previously that we want to get freer with our art. And it does seem a lot of artists, Picasso, oh my gosh, his early work was so amazing, and it wasn't cubism, and it was very traditional, but beautiful, realistic. And I think you do see a lot of artists where they probably do, what I do, and have a lot of anxiety about getting things perfect. And I think as you grow, you do get a little freer, and
I think that's the process. You have to get it perfect, and then you can move on.
And
you
then
have
you
to know
realize
you can do it.
I don't need to make it perfect. People can understand what it is without all these different details. And I think it's sometimes those details take away from it.
I do too. I do too. I think that I saw a picture one time, and I don't know who the artist is, but it was of this tree. And if you look at it, there were all these animals in the tree.
Interesting.
And it was very, very, you could sit and stare at it for hours, picking out the different animals.
Wow, that's really cool. And they probably weren't right in your face.
No,
you
had to look
study
for them.
it. Yeah, that's amazing. That would
to look for
be
them.
quite the technique.
Right. It was great.
Tell me about your art truth. And what I mean by that is, it could be really broad, but what does your art mean to you? What do you hope that people see maybe when they look at it? What inspires you? Yeah, just that kind of stuff. What does it mean to you in your heart?
My art is very tight. I guess I would say very precise. Mm-hmm. What I really want to do is grow out of that a little bit.
Okay.
My main objective is to have people have a reaction to it. That's how I know when I like a piece of art, is when I look at it and it's like, hits me someplace. It's like, wow.
And sometimes it's not positive. Sometimes it can be a lonely feeling. Or, right.
But it evokes a feeling. Yes. I love doing people. I love doing faces. I love doing animals. I don't like doing landscapes.
Right. Yeah, because animals and people you can see their personality.
Yeah, and often when I do something, people say, oh my God, I got such an emotional feeling out of that, and that's what I wanted.
Right. I don't think there's very many, better comments for an artist to receive.
Yeah.
And I think another one is that your art is recognizable. Someone would to look at it without even knowing and say, wow, Chris did that.
Right.
Especially your gourds, I think.
Well, the gourds, yes. I don't know that my other art is recognizable because I continue to develop a style.
Right. And you used different mediums. And,
right.
That's going to show your style, I think, a little bit differently.
Right. One of the mediums that I've had the most fun with, and actually someone even bought one of mine, is the alcohol ink.
Oh, yes.
Which is so difficult to work with.
It is. Like I've tried it one time, and it's just out of control.
Control it at all.
You're trying to corral it.
Yeah,
and
you can't. You just have to let it go where it wants to go and give it a name.
Right. And I am the proud owner of, I think, is it the only one that, you entered two in the January competition.
Yeah.
The Fairies, Dragons, and Myth. And the one I have is, I don't remember the title.
Druid tree.
It's a druid tree, and so it's really neat and very subtle. But there's kind of old men
faces appeared in
there.
The tree.
Yes,
it was really
one
cool.
Of my favorite pieces.
It's very cool.
Now, are you still doing that?
I haven't, and we have one coming up next summer that I was thinking of doing, underwater adventures or something like that.
That'd be beautiful.
It'd be great. We'll see.
Awesome.
We'll see. My husband's daughter is a photographer, an underwater photographer, and she has some gorgeous pictures.
So you'll have a lot of material.
So she gave me permission to use one or two of hers.
Awesome. And I think that would be maybe a great class or a workshop that we can maybe bring in, is to teach alcoholic. I'm not sure if we've had that before.
I have been begging people to do that. Nobody wants to do it.
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't want to or even know how to teach it, but I would love to take that.
Yeah, I would love. I've taken a couple.
And I know you have. Is it over in St. George where
Yeah.
you've taken that? Yeah. So maybe we could bring that in.
Yeah, we could ask her if she wants to come. That's a great idea.
How do you handle mistakes and the critic in your head?
Well, mistakes, the mistakes I see, I can handle.
Right.
I can get rid of them. I can do it over.
Sure.
It kind of pains you a little to do that.
It does.
To get rid of your stuff. But if it has to go, it has to go.
Right.
What pains me the most is when I have worked months on a picture, like in colored pencil, work months on a picture, and I feel that it's really good, and it doesn't even get a nod.
Right.
I feel like I'm never picking up another colored pencil again.
That's
I'm
too
gonna
bad.
do something else. I get over it, but it's like,
Right. It's hard. It is really hard. And one thing I think with art is we are putting it on walls for everyone to see, and that's
Yeah.
our heart and soul, a little bit of it, and we're
Yeah.
hanging that for the whole world. And I think if it gets stepped on a lot at all, I think that's really we
Yeah.
really internalize that.
I think we do. And some artists are more sensitive than others. I think
Right.
you and I are a little bit
Very
more sensitive. Yeah.
Although I am coming around. I'll just bring up really quick. There was an article in the about the release of the first utility box that we did, and it was a beautiful article. Vernon did a great job, and it went up, and I think within 10 minutes there was a woman from Mesquite that wrote in a comment, and it was negative. And I have to admit that day I just crashed. But it was kind of my bottom, and now I'm working, and I realize everyone's art isn't for everyone.
That's right.
If we took a worldwide vote, we wouldn't come up with one perfect piece.
That's
There's
right.
definitely those that would rise to the top, but people have different tastes and things attract. And like you said, art evokes emotions, and it's going to be a different emotion from
Right.
your interpretation to mine.
Right.
And so so I think that's really hard. And same thing with a judge. They're just people.
Yeah.
They have different interpretations. They probably they have a lot of biases. We all would. Do we like
Right.
color? Do we like more landscapes? Do we like
Yeah.
muted? Do we like the more washed out look of watercolor? And so because just in listeners, if you didn't know this, but we have an outside judge judge each competition, and so it's a different person every time. And so you can kind of see when you get the list of the winners, you can kind of see
Right.
kind of their biases, I
Right.
think. But yeah.
So you mean my $100 bills that I keep giving to the judges? They're really for naught? Well, I guess I know that now anyway. And Chris, so do you have a breakthrough piece?
The breakthrough piece was when I was younger, and it was this little picture. It was of a stream, and it had trees, and I brought it into an art gallery. And
Where was this, in New
This
York?
was in when I was living in Florida.
Okay.
And actually it was upstate New York. It was before I was pretty young. And I brought it in, I framed it, and the guy there said, "That's a really nice little piece." And it just made me feel so good. It's like, I think I should do this all the time now.
Right. Kind of I think of those as like a launch pad.
Yeah.
And just that affirmation.
Yeah.
Wow.
And my stepson, or my son-in-law, stepped on it and wrecked it. Yeah.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
no.
that's
Again,
okay.
a little piece of your soul was there.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's hard.
But it was definitely a breakthrough piece.
Awesome.
How do you fight the urge to obey the rules?
I don't even know the rules. I guess I should know the
Which,
rules
do you know
a
what?
little
I think
more.
that's better. I think because that makes you freer.
Yeah. I learn as I go along. I take as many courses as I can.
Sure.
And I learn more rules that way. I learned, a great rule about doing eyes is that you always have to have the little ant walk underneath an eye.
The lighter?
No, the space where the lashes grow out of.
Interesting.
And they call it an ant walk. I'm like, yeah, that makes the eye look a whole different way.
Right. And probably more realistic.
So I guess that's a rule. So now
Sure.
I try to obey it.
Sure. Well, now, how do you feel about when you do take a course or watch a video online of how to do something? Do you feel afterwards? I'm just speaking from personal experience that I feel constrained because this is how you're supposed to do it, and that I have that in my head where I like to just play by myself
Yeah.
and come up, and a lot of times probably come up with the same techniques that I would have
Yeah.
learned, a year ago
Yeah.
if I had watched those. Do you have any feelings towards that?
I try to use some of the techniques, but some of them don't work for me.
Right.
and sometimes it makes my art worse. And I'm
See, and that's what I have. And I think then I get whoever's teaching the course, they become a critic in my head.
yeah,
I think
Yeah.
they're judging me and saying, oh my gosh, we already talked about this. You're not supposed to be doing this. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I can see that.
and you learn.
You do.
You just learn naturally if you just keep doing it, I think.
And I think you learn what looks best to you. But, like I had talked about before that I don't like to use neutrals. And I've tried.
Yeah.
And they just look horrible. And I think I am probably neutral colorblind. And, really intense colors, that's, then I know I'm done. And so, yeah, I say.
A final question?
Don't have any questions for you. This is wonderful that you're doing this. I'm very excited. I'm going to start listening to podcasts now.
Yeah.
But I would like to invite everybody to come to the Virgin Valley Artists Association. We're at 15 West Mesquite Boulevard. Come and join our programs. We have lots of programs going on. Just come and see us, introduce yourself, ask for Chris or Dottie or Rochelle or Steve, and there are plenty of places to volunteer if you want to get involved in art somehow.
Yeah, some really fun positions.
Yeah.
And these positions allow you lots of opportunities to meet other people in the community that you might not have ever met.
Right.
So,
And we'll post the website, the URL, up on social media.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So, Chris, what's inspired you this past week?
I was at the ocean. What can
Yeah.
I tell you?
Drop
That's
mic.
right, Ponce Inlet, right? You
Ponce
see any
Inlet.
sharks?
Did not see a shark, but I saw a new jellyfish that I had never seen before.
Let's hope you didn't see it too close.
Oh, there were a million of them. They were little guys. And someone took a picture with their camera, and it said what it was. It's called a blue button. It's
Oh, neat.
the intricate part of it was just so intricate. The stomach part,
Uh-huh.
and then it had all these blue, like hair type things coming out. Gorgeous.
Oh, beautiful. Now, are they dangerous? So if you
They
stepped
will
on
not.
one-
They're not poisonous, but they will irritate your skin.
Okay.
But they're teeny little guys.
Worth it.
But that was very exciting. And of course, the ocean is just what can inspire one more than the ocean.
Right. All the colors. And I think a jellyfish would be good for the life under the ocean.
Yeah.
I think you have that now in your head, and you
I-
have a connection with it. I
Yeah.
think that would be great for next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see that
Yeah.
in next year's
You'll
competition.
see a blue button.
Yeah, a blue button.
Cute. It's a cute name.
Chris, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
This is really fun.
And I just wanted to mention where we're recording this. We are at the Women's History and Culture Center. It's all about women, and it's all about women getting the vote. And Jean Watkins and her crew have done such a wonderful job.
Yeah, it's a beautiful space.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So-
And probably maybe a space that others don't know about.
Yeah, right. Probably not. There's a big mural on the wall here about a suffragette getting the vote. Come and visit Jean. Jean, thank you, Jean Watkins. And it was a wonderful, wonderful, fun thing to do today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we'll be sure to put the Women's History Center a link up and some pictures. The mural's beautiful
Okay.
out there.
Good.
That's the first thing I saw this morning. was-
Perfect.
Cool.
Okay.
All right, Chris, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's talk about what's inspired us this past week.
The James Webb Telescope, and if it's okay, I'm going to go back a month. The pictures have been coming out a month now. James Webb. Oh my goodness, they're amazing.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and like the lights is just getting here 13 billion years later. Wow, it's incredible. I reserve the right to have that inspire me as we move along here, if you're okay.
Oh, I think that's amazing. Yeah, it's an amazing thing. So I think that's a really cool thing to have inspiration from.
Yeah, so our listeners, if you haven't looked it up, Google the James Webb Telescope and just be amazed in the pictures.
Right. And it's just mind-blowing when you really think back to what they're looking at. They're looking into the past, and I think just trying to comprehend some of that and the distances, it's mind-blowing.
Here we are. It's the end of July in Mesquite, Nevada, and it is maybe 112 degrees outside. So besides the heat, what's been inspiring you this week, Rochelle?
Well, along with the heat, I'll just say I actually sometimes like when it's so hot that we can't go hiking or anything, because then it's almost like it's a gift. So you can go paint or, sit inside and binge watch or whatever, because you can't really be outside. And so sometimes that's kind of freeing to me, to not feel bad that I'm not doing something outside because I can't. And so now I can go paint and have no guilt and just really get absorbed into it. The heat, actually, for me, it sounds kind of weird, but is inspiring. The other thing that's inspired me this week is my mom had asked me to do a series of paintings for their bedroom. They're redoing their bedroom, and she is going to wait and see what the paintings look like before she, really gets into different colors. But she is making a quilt for their bed with pillows, and she's working on that right now. So she's got tons of different fabrics and colors, and she's starting to put it together. And so it's been really fun to see what she picked and let that guide me for the pictures that I'm painting for her. My inspiration has been just these amazing fabrics and their colors and their patterns, and they're just given me so many different ideas of paintings that I can do. I'm doing a series is what I would say, but they're going to be very different, very different colors, different flowers, and so it's not going to run through to each painting. They're all going to be very different. But so it'll be exciting to see how they turn out, and then how they complement, hopefully, her quilt. So that's been my inspiration.
So that's so wonderful. Now, are you allowing your mom to pick any neutral colors for her quilt?
No, she knows that I can't do it. So
on to next week.
Yeah, episode 7.
Episode 7. Thanks, Rochelle.
Thank you, guys.
Broadcasting from Mesquite, Nevada, in the scenic Mojave Desert, the Art Box sponsors thank you for listening. To find our next and past podcasts, visit us online at mesquitefineartcenter.com.